net and then got delayed like that. Okay, so let's continue from where sir has stopped yesterday. Yesterday's class, it was discussed, sir discussed about electronic mail. I hope it was complete, right? Can someone confirm, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me start from domain name server or DNS. People sometimes call this as domain name server or domain name service. Okay. Some authors, they used to refer it as domain name service, and some users refer it as domain name server. Both the ways, it's fine. Okay. And what is domain name system or domain name server or domain name service? Okay. In your textbook, they are referring it as domain name system. Okay. So most of the books you may be able to see it as domain name server, DNS. Okay. That's I feel that is little more appropriate. Domain name server. A device which is doing this work is known as domain name server basically. Anyway, there are many identifiers for people like SSN name, passport number, or Aadhaar number, or voter ID number, or driving license number. So, or nowadays most frequently people are using phone number as their identification number. In many of the websites, people are using email address as their identification number. So there are many ways to identify things. Okay. So in our computer networks or in our networking world, it is nothing but the IP addresses is what they are using as identification numbers. So in your browser, when you type google.com or yahoo.com, whatever you type as a name, that will be converted to its corresponding IP addresses, and then it will be communicating. Okay, so basically the name what you are typing will be converted to its corresponding IP addresses by using the service of domain name servers. Okay, by using domain name services or servers. So we'll see how it is done. And how to map between IP addresses and name and vice versa. That is the purpose of domain name service. Or what do you mean by DNS, or what is the purpose of DNS? If somebody asks you, you can tell that it will be mapping between a name and the IP addresses, or it will maintain a table basically to provide IP address when it is asked. Okay. So you'll have to ask by its name, and the DNS will provide its IP address. That's how it will work. And domain name system is a distributed database basically. It's a distributed database. So it is implemented in a hierarchy of many name servers. We will see how it is implemented in a short while. And it is basically an application layer protocol. DNS is an application layer protocol. It uses TCP and UDP. Some occasions it will use TCP, and most of the occasions it uses UDP in order to communicate in the transport layer. Okay. So this DNS is one typical example where it will use both the protocols in the transport layer. Just for your interview sake, I'm telling this. Okay. So DNS services, it will translate the host name into IP address. IP address basically, and it also provides host aliasing. There can be multiple names for a server or for a computer, and this also can be solved, or it can be resolved by using this DNS services. Say for example, the mail server what Amrita is using is something different, but you all are using your register number at the rate email address, right? So, but actually that is uh, that say for example, my email address s_ullas@blr.amrita.edu. So it looks like blr.amrita.edu is a email server. It's not actually. It is actually hosted in Outlook or Office 365 server, and the email alias is been provided. Okay, ideally speaking, my email address has to come @ outlook.com, but actually it is showing us blr.amrita.edu. That I can say it as an alias name or a representational name. Okay. So similarly, that's what mail server aliasing. Similar to that, you have host aliasing also. Then load distribution. So load distribution means you have replicated web servers. Many IP addresses correspond to one name. Okay. So sometimes back, nowadays it is not been observed. When I type DNS lookup www.google.com, when I type, it used to give 2 or 3 IP addresses. That is actually replicated web servers. Okay. Same web server will be replicated. So you may wonder sometimes one server name will be listed with 3 or 4 or two or more IP addresses. The purpose is load distribution. Then next bystanding question is, why not you centralize a DNS? Why not centralize a DNS instead of distributed DNS devices? The problem with that is only one server in the world to resolve all the IP addresses. It is not a feasible idea basically. So it will be a single point of failure, and a lot of traffic will be coming to that device, and distant centralized database. So the database will be at one place in the world, everywhere. From everywhere in the world, they will have to connect to this particular server in order to get the data. And to maintain that server also is really tough. And how we are distributing it, that's what you can see it in the coming slide. So does not scale. That is another important point of centralized DNS. And all these things you can say. All these 4 points you can combine and tell it does not scale. Okay. And now DNS is basically a distributed hierarchical database, and this is the structure of a DNS distribution. You can see root DNS server. So, or people simply say it is dot DNS server. Dot is identified as root. So when you say in Linux, you have slash as root, right? Similar way here, people say dot as the root DNS server. And under root DNS server, you have various subservers. The root DNS server, ideally speaking, it is not necessary to keep any database, but it can keep as well, though it is not necessary. And the root DNS servers will be containing information about other DNS servers. Other DNS servers in the sense the title or the top DNS servers. We call it as TLDs, top level DNS servers. We have it in next slide. So you have .com is one top level DNS server, right? .com. You have .org. You have .edu. You have .uk. You have .in. You have .us. Or you have uh, dot for each country there is a top level DNS servers now, like .in we have for India, right? Similar way, .uk you have for United Kingdom. So it is all known as the top level DNS servers. And .com DNS server is supposed to know about. All the authoritative DNS servers of .com extension. I'll tell you in a short while what is authoritative DNS server. Okay. .org will be having details all org website, the authoritative DNS servers. Similarly, .edu will have all .edu web servers. Okay. Say for example, amrita.edu's web server, authoritative DNS server address will be there in this .edu DNS server. This is maintained by a consortium of countries, not by an individual. Okay. So we have root name servers in the various parts of continents. I would suggest you to go through the textbook to understand this little more. Okay. It's nice to know all these details, nice to read all these details. May not be relevant for exams, but it is good to know being a computer science student. So now let us understand what is TLD and what is authoritative servers. I'll just go back to the previous slide. So here the top level is .com, .org, .edu, the middle one, and the authoritative servers will come next to that. Okay, just memorize this diagram, this tree structure. Now I'll explain this. Okay, so what is top level DNS servers? It's responsible for .com, .org, .net, .edu, .jobs, .uk, .france, FR, etc. So this servers will ideally has to have the database of all servers having .uk extension or all servers having .org extension. Okay. And what is authoritative DNS servers? It is organizations own DNS servers. Remember, it's organizations own DNS servers providing authoritative hostname to IP mapping for organizations named host. Can be maintained by organizations, organization or service provider DNS server. Okay. So I think this is not pretty clear to you now. I'll just explain this little more. Say for example, Google.com, they will have a DNS server with them. Okay, the DNS server is maintained by their organization administrators. So that DNS server will provide IP addresses of their servers or their services. Say for example, Gmail is one of the service provided by them. So it is a different server under Google's organization. And Maps or what else? Drive, Google Drive, or there are plenty of such services provided by Google.com server or Google servers. So individual entries will be there in the authoritative DNS server by Google. Okay. Suppose if an IP address changes, they will make that particular entry in the authoritative DNS server manually. And whenever somebody asks for such name resolution, the authoritative DNS server will send back the correct up-to-date IP address. Okay, that is who is finally can tell exactly their IP address. The same organization only. That is the logic being used here. Okay. Are you all clear with authoritative DNS server? What it means?
Yes.
Okay. Fine. Now there is another concept called local DNS server. Local DNS server. It all falls in a different different line. Okay. It is not. It does not fall under that the hierarchical structure. Okay. Say for example, in Amrita, in our campus, we maintain a DNS server by ourselves. So as and when somebody communicates to internet, suppose you are browsing to a website first time. Nobody else browsed in our campus to that website. So that name will be saved in our local DNS server because it is first time it is being conducted, and it will be just stored in our database. And subsequently, when a second person is browsing the same website, it is not necessary to refound or refind the same IP address and name resolution, because the previously whoever is contacted, the DNS is resolved to that particular name, and then it is saved there. So similarly, the providers, the ISP providers, say suppose if I have a connection from Airtel, the Airtel fellow, they'll have a DNS server with them. Airtel fellow, they'll have a DNS server with them, and for Airtel customers, they'll be resolving the DNS basically, so that the internet communication will be less. It will be resolved in their local place itself. So that's advantage by keeping a DNS server in our campus also. Otherwise, every time your DNS request has to go to entire world and then get it resolved and come back. If it is available locally, it can resolve. So around 95 to 90, more than 90% of DNS requests will be resolved locally if you have a server in place within your campus itself, because the websites what an organization people refers will be mostly the same or frequent. It's very rarely they refer to a new website. Okay, so is this slide clear? Acts as a proxy, forwards query into hierarchy. So that point we will see in a short while. So your local DNS server, if he do not know a particular IP address, he will contact the hierarchical structure of DNS thing and will get it resolved. Okay. Now this slide and the subsequent slide is very important.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes. Speak louder.
In the local DNS, okay, 1 minute, sir.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, please go ahead.
I was asking, in the local DNS name server, when cache is already available, that means a site is already mapped to an address, and then the authoritative or some other server has changed its IP, like there is a modification. So when we browse for the second time, in the cache it won't be up to date, no sir. Then will it be giving us the outdated value, or like how will it happen, sir?
Yeah, that's a very brilliant question. So if you remember, in the HTTP header format, we have seen site moved error message. Do you remember that? HTTP has got 400 as OK, 402 as site is not available, something like that. So there is one code, I don't remember the code value actually now. That code mentions server moved.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
So that is how it is being addressed. Anyway, changing an IP address is not an easy task. Basically, they cannot or we cannot change the IP address of a server as our wish. We will have to register the IP address to the domain name as and when we create a website, and to the authoritative DNS server. I mean, to the top level DNS servers. It's all well maintained. And in case if I am changing my IP address, I am supposed to make that change in the top level DNS server as well. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So DNS resolution, how it will take place. So now in this example, you have a requesting host named sys.poly.edu, and he is actually browsing to gaia.cs website. Okay, now let us see how it is going to work. So now there is a local DNS server in this educational institution. Suppose you are browsing from your home, let's assume so. So you are connected to, say, Reliance internet service. So your request will go to Reliance data server, and Reliance data server, if he has it, it will be coming back to you. If he does not have it, then what happens here? That's what the scenario. Okay. So here we are taking an educational institution example. So the first step, the request is going to local DNS server. And listen carefully, all of you listen carefully, I'm telling few important points. So now when this request will go, okay, the situation is like this. You have opened a browser in this computer and you typed, in the browser you typed gaia.cs. etc. whatever it is. And now your browser will check in this computer. This computer also will maintain a local resolution for some time actually. Okay, it's not like it's getting and forgetting. This also will keep the names in the buffer. Now the moment you type this website address in the browser, the browser will keep it on a hold, because he knows that he can communicate only by using IP address. So the browser will put it in the buffer, and then it will initiate a DNS request. Okay, it will initiate a DNS request. So what is the IP address of gaas.cs website? What are we? So that is the DNS request. It will go. It will come to transport layer. UDP will take care from there. Okay. From UDP it will go to IP. From IP it will go to Ethernet, whatever it is. Then all the way it will come to the DNS server. DNS server, that's the request. It's coming now. The DNS server, what's the request? What is the IP address of GAIA? This website, gaia.cs. So now that request is come to the DNS server. DNS server will look in its database. If it is there, you are fortunate. The reply will come directly from there. If it is not there, now it is local DNS server's responsibility to resolve that particular IP address. Okay. Now he will contact root level DNS server. Okay. Say suppose what is this .edu extension, right? umass.edu extension. So where is edu servers? So that is the request. Here it is going. Now once that is gone, he will reply back saying, okay, the edu server is available in so and so IP address. The edu server is nothing but top level domain DNS. So now the request will be directly shooted to that top level domain servers. Now the top level domain server, what is the query? Where is this? What is the IP address of dns.cs.umass.edu? Okay. Now he will reply back. I don't have those records with me. The IP address of authoritative DNS server of dns.cs.umass.edu is this fellow's IP address. He'll reply. That is what happening in communication number 5. And communication number 6, he'll ask what is the IP address. Now he got the authoritative DNS server IP address. Now he'll ask directly to authoritative DNS. What is the IP address of cs.umass.edu or gaia.cs.umass.edu. Now the reply will come with the actual request. Now finally, in the 8th step, your computer will be getting the IP address of this particular web server. Now, once this IP address is resolved, your HTTP will wake up from the buffer and it will start communicating. So that is how the entire process. This is known as iterative query or iterated query. Okay. All of you just go through this, what is happening in step 1 to step 8. Make sure all of you will be able to write it if it is asked in exam. Just try to recollect in your mind.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, the domain name system acts as a tree, no sir. Like the first topmost level is root, then comes the authoritative server. So why we are getting back a reply from root DNS server to local DNS? Instead, from root directly we can branch to TLD, then to authoritative, then from the authoritative the reply can go back to the local DNS server. No, sir.
Yeah, that is another way of operating that we call as recursive query. So this is known as iterative query. So most of the cases, iterative query is what happening. Okay. I'll come back to this question with a little more clarification after my next slide. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I hope it is clear. Next one is recursive query. This is what actually Leela Krishnan was asking. So here you have the request is going to the server. Server he do not know. So now his burden he will pass it to top level DNS server. Now top level DNS server will take the burden of resolving it. He will question he will shoot that question to TLD. Now TLD will get it resolved from the authoritative DNS server. When the reply comes back, TLD will store in its database. Then it will come to root DNS. Root DNS also will store it in his database. Then it will come to local DNS, and local DNS will store it. Then it will come back to the computer. So in the previous cases, this opportunity, storing it back to the database, is not there. So at the same time, it's a burden also, because the database of root DNS server will be so huge. It will be very high in content. And another problem is he has to maintain all these connections, right? He has to maintain all these communications. Say like the root DNS will get such communications huge in number. So to maintain all these connections, it is not that easy. So your computer is using actually UDP communication, but communication between servers. See your local DNS server to TLD or your root DNS. All these are in all this they are using connection-oriented communication. That is TCP is used. TCP is used between DNS servers. So when it is using TCP, it's a burden to keep alive that many connections. See, this fellow is communicated to him. The connection is open till he resolved the IP address and sends back. In order to resolve, he has to establish a connection to this, then to this. So it is a lot of waiting time, in fact. So the server, how many connections it has to keep open at any particular point of time, that is also a big burden. So recursive query is not that much widely used in industry. Is it clear, Leela Krishnan, now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So
It was sufficient, sir.
sorry, any other doubts?
No, sir. It was Priyadarshan who asked it, sir, not Leela Krishnan.
Oh, sorry. Priyadarsan, sorry.
No problem, sir. It's fine.
Okay, okay. Fine. So DNS caching and updating records. Once any name server learns mapping, it caches mapping. So that is one key point. Once any name server learns mapping, it caches mapping. So cache entry is timeout after some time. That is known as time to leave, TTL values, time to leave. Top level domain servers typically cached in local name servers. Thus, root name servers does not often. Thus, root name servers not often visited. That is another key point. Cache entries may be out of date. This problem is there always. We cannot help for it. If name host changes its IP address, may not be known to internet wide until all TTLs expire. So this is what Priya's doubt, I guess. So this problem is there in internet, and it is using RFC 2136. RFC stands for request for comments. This standard is used in computer networks only. Like it's like IEEE standard or ISI standard. RFC stands for request for comment. This is used only in computer communications, okay, or data communications. RFC 2136 is a standard which explains the DNS process. So let us stop with this today, and we'll continue tomorrow.
Sir?
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
So you told that our quiz might be in this week or next week. Can you give us some tentative date or something?
We will let you know. Your AUMS is set to be ready. That is why we are delaying on that part.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'll let you know at least 1 or 2 days in advance. Chapter 1 will be asked for quiz 1. You be prepared for you may start preparing for it. Okay.